Behind the Hooks. With Manny DeGrandis. And Daniel Panetta.
Hi, Manny DeGrandis.
Hi, Daniel Panetta.
How you doing, man?
I'm good.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. New Year, you, us, new me. Doing everything different this year because nothing's worked out ever for me.
You're like a walking Instagram post, man. Crazy, man. Holidays good. Holidays are good.
Yeah, they're good. They're good. Really sucks without no New Year's shows.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know about you. This is my first one in a long time that I'm actually spending I spent New Year's showless.
Yeah, it's just so weird, but that's but anyways, this is going to be a good year, right?
Yeah.
Because we have
2021.
We have things on our horizon ourselves with the both of us, the show and music and stuff like that.
Year.
So hopefully that all pans out, and me and you are a little bit harder workers than most, so we will get it done.
Yeah, gotta get it done.
We got to get it done.
I do want to say before we get into anything that officially we've brought Manny in as the bass player for 4-1 Soul. So I just want to say thank you and welcome aboard for that as well.
Yeah, six sub gigs, and they finally said, all right. All right. And 3 of those last ones, I hired them.
Yeah, I know, right? All right.
I've actually hired them more than they hired me.
Yeah. I mean, it was a no-brainer. Even back when we were playing at the OV, it was like, you know what, this feels right. Yeah. And it's funny because 4-1 Soul is one of those bands that we split off and do our own individual things and come back with something new, and it just works, right? Yeah. So you are there's something new now.
Yeah. And it's some, I don't know. You know, bands are, it's hilarious, right? Because bands are, you know, sometimes you don't play with a band for a while, just you don't get the gigs, and then you get together and you're like, or whatever, like you said, you know, you get on tours and other things, and then you go back and it's like, yeah, it's great. You know, it's weird. It's just weird. Sorry. I just kind of had a train of thought and it just went away in some ways. But it's because I just think of all like the bands that I've been playing with for so long, because people are always like, oh, you're playing so many bands. Yeah, well, see, like, 7 years ago and, to the beginning of music time, you were in a band. Yeah. And when you were in that band, you'd get hired for, you're not just getting a one-off at a local bar, right? You would be going and traveling, and if you're a cover band, you'd be playing a full week somewhere, sometimes 2 full weeks somewhere, like Monday to Friday, and then things changed. They did front-end band, but you always had the same band because you were always booked,
Hard to do that now.
And there's so many guys that's just like, you're in so many bands because just you want to be busy. So like I'm always grateful to be a bass player because you just could get thrown in and out all the time easily. And you could sub out too and very easily too because there's so many great bass players around. But I always felt bad for vocalists like you because it's the, 4-1 Soul doesn't have your name on it, but essentially it's always we're as good as our singer, right?
Well, that's the thing, right? Like I'm as good as the backbone, right? So like if a band is not playing so well, then they always say, "Oh, that singer sucked."
Yeah.
So I think that as a singer, playing in multiple bands, the way to really stay relevant is versatility. That's really the best thing you can do, is just be able to segue from one genre or one style to another and be able to do it with a sense of proficiency and be professional about it. Because otherwise you get chewed up and spit out, especially in the corporate world, man.
Yeah, and I'm always so jealous of certain people that just have that one shtick and the world loves it and they don't want them to do anything else. The Pogues we talked about it. Like there's a band that like, man, they just got to do themselves, and nobody wanted them to do anything else, right? But as where we're at, being, generally we're just working musicians, you got to learn how to play all the styles, right? Get a phone call, okay, we want a jazz gig, and it's like, I know I could call you to do that, to sing on that, and but it's so hard because you got to be so good at so many things.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, like, obviously, I'm not gonna
working.
take a country gig because I know my weaknesses, right? But at the same time, it's like if I am looking to be making a living at doing this, yeah, you kind of gotta be a wearing a bunch of hats and be a kind of jack of all trades, right? Where that's one of the things that my dad taught me from an early age was master your craft, do whatever you got to do to don't just be the one trick pony, so that's from being a singer to learning different languages, to be able to play on different gigs, and then studying different styles and genres of music, and then in turn picking up different instruments. But just always having the opportunity to jump into something is really, really important. I don't think I would be here sitting at this table if I didn't take those chances. You and I definitely wouldn't have met, because I would have been stuck in that like one trick pony world, and that wouldn't have brought me to various gigs, moonlighting with different bands, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's important for anybody that's listening or watching, and they're trying to figure out, aside from COVID, how do I capitalize on getting the most gigs as possible? It's just, be as versatile as you can be. That one click needs to happen, but in order for that to happen, you have to try out different things for sure.
Yeah, and I always hate when people belittle a working musician, because it's, there's so many jobs, that you go home and you just, you drop your briefcase or your lunchbox and that's it. Like, you're like, it's forgotten.
And then your brain
whatever.
shuts off.
Brain shuts off of that, and you do whatever you want. Like, I'm constantly like, either trying to get the next gig or practicing for the next gig or just practicing or something. It's always on your mind, right?
Well, this is what upsets me about purists, okay? Because purists are out there that have this thing about, we're original, do original. There's, that's, you're selling out if you're in a working band and stuff like that. And it's like, okay, well, let me explain to you how marketing works, because marketing costs money. And in order to get that money, somebody has to be working. And in order to be working, you have to be versatile to be able to play in those cover bands. So one feeds the other, right? So I get flack a lot because I do a lot of cover things and I sing a lot of other people's songs. Yeah, but that's funded. Yeah. My other stuff, my original project. That's funded the gear and everything that I needed to build a studio to be able to record my original projects, right? So don't let anybody tell you that, you're selling out by doing other people's stuff or by playing in bars and doing the cover gig and stuff like that. One hand's got to feed the other. And if you can keep everything in the realm of music and be able to do that as much as possible to be kind of a full-time thing and have that fund the things that you really want to do and the things that boost the creativity and allow you the time to do that, don't let anybody stop you and don't let anybody tell you different, because I'm sorry, I wouldn't be in the position that I am, you yourself either, if we didn't have that. So, and you learn a lot, because by doing other people's stuff and learning different progressions and different changes and everything like that, you become more creative and you're not just playing a whole album in one key.
Yeah, I find, exactly, right? It's so funny because I'll go learn, go learn a Jacko lick or something, and instead of spending like the time, that extra time to get it like perfect and whatever, it usually inspires me to write something.
Sure.
It's like, I remember, learning my first harmonic, and it was like, oh, bing, bing. And then I wrote a song, right? Or a segment of a song. And when I learned, learning chords on the bass, I turned it into a song right away, right? And that's the thing, and as a singer, if you're out there playing, top 40 gigs, you're just going to get so much better at talking to the crowd, feeling comfortable on stage, right? And that's the hardest thing. Like you're like, okay, you're at home and you're working on your tunes, and then you're maybe in the rehearsal spot for a week with the band, and then you go and play your original gig and showcase gig, and you just have nothing, and the bright lights and everything scares you. But if you've been, playing, like Shania Twain, sorry, because Twin is the cover band, which is so funny. But she, she was just in bar bands, growing up, and that's where you get your flair and your groove, right, and everything, and there's less places to play as an original band. Like at least when I was starting out, there's a lot of bars you could play, so you can actually, and that's all we did was original shows in high school, but after a bunch of them, but we were playing every month somewhere, or more than that, and and there was venues that played original music, and there was all kinds of things, right? The high school would let you play and everything. Like it's like kids don't even play in their high school anymore. It's your high school, and you're in a band, and they won't. We would play in the cafeteria during lunch, right? Can we do this? Sure, whatever. That's how so we got better that way because we played a lot, right? So but now those gigs are gone. And an up and coming unsigned band has played how many gigs? Like how many gigs do they play in a year?
And how many of those gigs are you responsible for bringing the crowd? And how many gigs are you actually getting ticket sales cutbacks? How many of those gigs are you getting the right promotion? How many of those gigs are your promoters running out with the money? So, I don't know. I honestly, to not do with the headache, and, having spoken with Vinny in the last episode was like, open some eyes a little bit, where it's like, sometimes you can't do it all. Sometimes it's okay to reach out, ask for help. In our circumstance, it's okay to, do the cover thing and, gain that knowledge and be somebody that people can call and depend that you're going to do a good job on the gig. Because there's nothing more exciting to me than networking with other musicians and having them be like, hey, just like comedians, when they hang out at the Laugh Factory, they're just like, hey, that was a really great set. Let's hang out for a little bit. You know what that does? That's a great feeling.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah. The comedian thing, like they're generally they're a tighter knit community.
They really are.
Than musicians are. Although,
unless you're stealing jokes.
Yeah. I mean, thieves are thieves, right?
Yeah.
I know, but...
yeah, I just think that we can be tighter as a community, whether you're an original project or not, and we can come together and be better for it. I mean, everybody can learn from everybody, either the writing process or, even just, how many versions of G can you play on your fretboard?
Exactly.
And you really only know one or the other by doing one or the other.
Exactly.
So, yeah. I guess we said we weren't going to rant, but we just ranted.
Yes. We got a full show ahead of us, ladies and gentlemen.
We got an exciting show ahead of us.
Yes, so we're going to have our boys Tom and Rick from the Tom and Rick Show on in a bit, but first we have to do everybody's favorite.
On this day in music history.
Can you believe he does that live every time the same?
It's starting to hurt. We should probably re-record it.
But do tell us.
On this day, in 1969, Led Zeppelin came to North America and did... it was the last of 4 nights at Whiskey A Go Go in L.A. And they were opening for Alice Cooper. Cooper. Wow. And they were actually billed as Led Zeppelin featuring Jimmy Page because, he was doing the Yardbirds thing. And I thought that was pretty interesting, how that evolution of one of the greatest bands of all time was opening for, a shtick musician, a shtick singer, and coming out with something that changed rock music. and Jimmy Page was kind of like a side hired gun bill guy. You know, like it wasn't even part of like the Led Zeppelin umbrella yet. You know, so I always thought that was cool. Led Zeppelin is always one of those bands that has this mystique around it, where obviously with John Bonham passing away, it cut things short. But I think that with that, they ended at perfect. It was kind of serendipitous.
Yeah.
Where I think that if they did go on for longer, it would have lost that mystique. It would have lost that wonder and excitement behind their music.
Yeah, it's funny how with that band, like the way they were called, like first, Jimmy Page took over the Yardbirds name, so they were called, or at least whatever, he just took over, and decided to start Zeppelin, and they called it the New Yardbirds for a while because the Yardbirds were something. And then they were called Zeppelin featuring Jimmy Page, and it's like, looking back, it's hilarious because they're like the biggest rock band, and they got their name because someone said, "Oh, they're gonna go over like a Led Zeppelin.
You're gonna fall like a Led Zeppelin."
Like really,
Yeah.
Right? And it's just
Here you go.
and being one of these guys that I absolutely loved them, and once again through the bootlegs and everything. So I could see a couple of their first shows. I mean, they were playing Dazed and Confused. They actually started playing that in the Yardbirds. I think it was called something different. Mm-hmm. But I could see that being like, and that's like, early 69 or something, late 68, and you're just kind of like, what is this? But then the whole world changed to it. Like it's all, and they were like playing blues. And once, I don't know, blues rock could go either way. I don't know.
Well, it can become very hokey very quickly.
So, yeah, I don't know. And, a lot of people were, just not digging Plant. I guess he was too good looking for them, and they were, and not, I don't know if maybe in the beginning, I mean, Zeppelin 1, I think the album is amazing, but maybe the weeks prior to that they weren't sounding as hip, but they were trying new things, and they wanted to be. It doesn't this day and age, if my kids pick up an album, it's not gonna sound new and fresh, but it was new and fresh with a lot of older elements, but there was something different about them, which is why they blew up so fast.
Yeah, I mean that was a band that really they were a smart band in the sense that they had these very contrasting elements to each player that was in it. I mean, you had John Bonham that was he was lightning in a bottle, but he was a walking metronome too, and that was a guy that put work in. John Paul Jones, who was just a genius. He's scoring music now, and he's a multi-instrumentalist and really a harmonic great. One of the greats in dealing with building harmonies. Robert Plant was a great showman, and he had the voice to back it at the time, and he definitely weaved in and out of the melodies to complement what Jimmy Page and John Paul Jones were doing. And then Jimmy Page, who was a tour de force, man. Like he'd been doing it since he was 5 years old and getting TV exposure at that age too. And he understood the dynamic of when it was okay to be a thunderous, shredder, a blues shredder and a rock shredder, but also knew how to really build these complex changes through certain songs. So I think it was. It was a nice contrast between all of the whole group, and
yeah, definitely. A lot of them, Jimmy Page gets a lot of flack. Oh, he was sloppy and everything, but those times it was about going for it. You listened to Cream, and it was just like whoa, like
yeah,
like there's wrong notes here and there, but man, the energy and they go for it, and they were putting out albums, Zeppelin 1 and 2 were put out 6 months apart or something like that. Like that, and really good songs. Right?
Yeah.
And then they're like, okay, Zeppelin 3, let's get a little hippy dippy and pull some acoustics. It's like, whoa, we weren't even done with that. Like you still had so much more to say with Zeppelin,
Yeah, and there's something to be said too. I mean, if you look at every teenage guy from the 70s up until recent, grew up listening to bands like Led Zeppelin or Iron Maiden, and if you were a metalhead or something like that, I mean, you had a Zeppelin record on your shelf, or you had a playlist on your phone or something like that. They're just timeless songs, and people will shit on songs that get overplayed like Stairway to Heaven, but I mean, if you really break it down, it is a genius song. It has movements, it's got
so thought out.
it is very thought out, and I mean, like, just to think about that writing process, to piece all of those elements together. I mean, wow, man. And then I'm sure they played it and heard it a bajillion times, but when you listen to Hart perform it with John Bonham's son at the Kennedy Center Honors, and watch them well up with tears, and it's like, look how far this song has come. And to have it performed so beautifully well, I don't think I've heard it done better than that, other than when Zeppelin does it. So, obviously they've gotten older. Robert Plant doesn't have the voice he used to. Jimmy Page can't move as quick as he used to, and John Paul Jones is just too damn busy to deal with shit. So, and John Bonham is kind of not here. But they did that 2007 Celebration reunion where
that was fun.
That one-time thing. I didn't particularly like most of it, but I loved the fact that the mystique kept on, because a lot of bands, when they get back together, it's like, okay, just you said farewell like 6 times now. They actually, like, this is just the one-time thing, and that was it. I respected them for that, because a lot of bands, when they split up, they'll get back together, and that was the same. There was the Beatles thing too, they split up, and they split up once. And you just really revel in what they've done and really appreciate what they did for music, because if we didn't have Zeppelin, we wouldn't have bands like Whitesnake.
Seriously, come on. So on that note, let's take a quick break and let's bring our friends back, our friends out, and let's enjoy.
So for those of you that are wondering where we are right now, we are in the Buzz 505 studio. This space is completely rentable if you're thinking about putting on a show for yourself. We're going behind the hooks right now. Buzz 505 Studio features everything that you see here, except for Manny and I. We will not come with your podcast.
But I've been known to help other people with their own podcast. Being an employee here also.
I mean, it's a great space. It's very comfortable. I don't think this would be possible without this kind of space and being able to do something like this. So if you are interested in renting out this space, check out the Buzz 505 website. Check out Buzz 505's various podcasts that they produce here in-house. And don't be afraid to reach out. This is it's a great space. It's really cool to be here.
Yes, you'll enjoy the vibe. Buzz 505. Okay, and we're back from our commercial break, and we have our special guests today, Thomas Barlow and Rickferd Van Dyke, and a little bit about them, that so you know what's going on and why they're on the show. Tom has been up for 4 Junos, and plays around everywhere. Singer, songwriter, guitar player, and has the longest running jam probably, or did up until COVID. Monday Night Jam. What was that? 23 years. Is that the right number?
Over multiple venues, yes. Fox and Fiddle.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So it's all
off and on.
Off and on. And Rickferd plays for, should I go from highest to lowest? Headstones. Groovestone.
Yeah.
Sandman.
Also lost to Juno.
Yes. And Sandman, Metallica's, what was it exactly? Metallica's
the only sanctioned Metallica tribute band.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes. That's a cool story there. But they're not on the show for all these cool reasons. Maybe next year. But the reason they're on the show today is, the biggest reason is they've got a show called The Tom and Rick Show that's on every Wednesday on Facebook Live. But 7 o'clock. And so tell us why you're doing the show and what made you decide to do the show and what the show's about.
we're in lockdown, obviously, as we all know. In the first lockdown,
Hard lockdown.
hard lockdown. First lockdown was scarier than this lockdown, even though this one is more dangerous because we'd never been in a lockdown before and we were all freaking out. So I'd said to Rick one morning, and by morning I mean noon, I said, do you want to do a TV show? And he went, okay.
Yeah, because I mean, we were doing separate things and putting them online and not, just for everybody else just kind of doing it. And then we talked about it a few nights before the show or doing a show a week before. It just said, it's kind of stupid. Me going, look what I can do. And then him spending 3 weeks rendering a video, which he still does, but they're doing a video and putting it up or doing whatever online. And it just didn't make any sense to just do that. And I mean, we weren't getting paid for it, which is okay. And we just decided we should do something together and really just bubble the community here in Port Credit and help the community.
Yeah, so there was a situation here, probably where you are, probably everywhere, that one of the restaurants and clubs going to open, and when can we work again?
Right.
And there was all kinds of speculation in that first lockdown, because as you recall, it's like, well, we'll have to lock down for 3 or 4 weeks, or we'll have to lock down for a month. But there was no communication between the artists, the musicians, the policymakers in government, and the clubs. So people were just making shit up and saying, I think it's this. Well, I think it's this. And we thought if we had a venue where we could have artists, politicians, club owners, and they could all say and articulate their realities, then we could put that into the community and there'd be some stability and a little less guessing of what the hell is happening.
Yeah, that was the premise on trying to get just information, because there was a lot of disinformation and people saying weird things, few musicians saying stupid things. And we decided, let's talk to the proprietors, the owners, and let's get some voices. So we had some owners from clubs and that actually have live music, and that expanded to the mayor.
We would get the city council, the city councilor, I call the city councilor and say, look, you can't just lock people down on 24 hours notice.
Yeah, and
you got to tell us what's going on. Yeah. People are freaking out. This is, before the CERB was all worked out. This is when we were all in panic mode, right?
So we all lost our job and no info.
Yeah,
and so the show arose out of a need for communication, and also because there's no gigs anymore. What we do in our show is we fundraise, and we get different corporate sponsors and sometimes community sponsors. So every time a musician comes on the show, it's a gig. They get paid.
Yeah.
So they come on, talk for 10 minutes,
do a song,
and we're able to cut them a check, which, as you know, it's probably the only gig they have that week or maybe that month.
Yeah,
exactly.
So those are the different things that we were interested in, that we were trying to put together and make a show out of.
Yeah. And we've watched a bunch of them.
I binged it. I mean, I love the premise of the show, guys. And I think that not only for your local community, but even just as, just watching and seeing people not just being held accountable to, what's going on, but also, to see the reality of it, and that, we are doing everything that we can in order to maintain our not only sanity, but our creative juices flowing. Have you guys ever been blindsided? I mean, you guys have a lot of people that write past bills and people in there that obviously club owners that come in there and talk about their club and the situations they're in. Have you guys ever been blindsided by some answers and like things that you weren't sure of and been able to kind of get clarity on and turn your viewers?
Yeah, well, I think the guy that opened the most eyes, I assume Rick will be in agreement with me on this, is we had Jerry Diaz, who's the president of Unifor, the labor union, and it's the private sector labor union in Canada. And when you ask that, they're intense.
Yeah.
You froze there for a second, but we're back. So you'd ask Jerry Diaz about, I know we'd say, I know you represent some long-term care homes. People are dying in them. What can you tell us about that? And he would go on about these people are not being paid. These people are essential. The people who own these homes are taking millions of dollars in dividends, and they're wearing plastic bags for PPE. Why can't they have a stable job? They're wiping the asses of your parents and your grandparents.
Bummer.
Wage. They have to work in multiple homes. Holy shit, this guy is right and be intense. So it was a very cool thing.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
He stands up for the common person, but he is, they call him the $1 billion man. So like he just did that couple of deals with Ford and GM. He just like, those are billions of dollars in negotiations but the way that he negotiates, I cannot do it here. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So that was one of the ones where we didn't know exactly how he was gonna respond.
And then you blindsided sort of Stephen Daskell. Remember, you said, and tell us about this. And he said, well, I wasn't prepared. I was going to say it tomorrow. And he goes, but I'll tell you now. And I just went, oh, wow.
So the decisions, one of the things about politicians is even if they're a good politician, even if they're honest, even if their heart's in the right place, they don't understand our reality as musicians.
Right.
I mean, how could they?
No, they can't.
And so when we lay that on them in an intense way, that where we're saying, don't speak to me in circles, someone has to make their rent on the 30th.
Yeah, decisive.
What is happening with, is the license going to be extended? Is live music going to be allowed on a patio?
There you go.
All of this stuff.
So that was what it was. It was like there was a big gray area, and like as far as the outdoor patios go, and then the people could play in the outdoor patio, although they couldn't be inside at this time.
Yeah.
And there was like, what's happening? These owners are spending thousands of dollars, and those are venues that we need to play in. So what are you doing? And then he said, well, I wasn't going to say, but I was going to, and I go, boom. And he said it. This is happening on a Saturday, and we're getting the license extended, and He's changing the noise bylaws from this to that. They haven't changed in 30 years. Stuff like that has been really cool for this show.
Yeah.
I think it's great the way that you guys have it structured. I mean, it feels like it's it's a TV show, and the way that it's structured and built that way. But you guys get to some nitty gritty stuff, and I think it's great. It answers a lot of questions, not only for the local musicians in your community, but also for all of us all around the GTA. That are kind of wondering and have been in limbo, especially in that first part of the outbreak. So I really commend you guys on that, and I respect the fact that you guys are getting answers where a lot of people who aren't musicians don't think it's important, but I mean it's our livelihood. Yep. And
we're sorry for interrupting you there, but we're learning a lot about how terrible we are as a political force. When I say we, I mean musicians.
Yeah.
We are a weak ass, terrible, ununited group of people who do not work together for a common goal. And what we've noticed when we have the restaurateurs on, they have organizations. They lobby government. Rob Ford is it Doug or Rob? I always forget which one it is. Doug. Doug Ford is always saying, my heart goes out to the small business. My heart goes out to the restaurateurs. I know a lot of these guys, they're calling me every day. Yeah. Who is speaking for us? Yeah. Have you heard one politician say, the musicians don't get to work until the clubs are open. And when the clubs are open, they're only going to be at 30% or 50%. So they can't have musicians. We are so down the line in terms of when we're going to get our livelihoods back. But we do not get any airtime.
Yeah.
So one of the things is us looking at other industries and saying they have their shit together, they're organized, they're making noise, politicians are listening. Yep. We need to get our shit together so that we are a voice that says, hey, don't give us $500 a week and tell us to fuck off. No. Because of that, they're getting rents up, they're getting all kinds of, they're getting a basket of services, and we are getting none of that.
Right.
So, I think it's incumbent upon people like yourself, people like us, to say, guys, we are a multi-billion-dollar industry. We deserve the same benefits and the same, political outreach that all other industries get. Why are we apart from? So this is what our new goal now is to get musicians to understand their power socially and financially, so that when they say small business, we are included in that bracket.
We have so much value to add to a society, an economy, that it should be measured. And the simple things is for me, I always start small. And the simple thing we did with ours is we basically just bubbled this community and these musicians and these venues and these owners from Mississauga Road to here, Ontario. Yep. Now, if you guys do with your show, you bubble your community wherever that is, and you get leaders, representatives, owners, musicians, and in your area, then we unite, and then that unites. And it's kind of that's where I think it goes. But finding out that we need a voice for all of us is the biggest thing that we should be doing right now, is organizing, not in a, like March on Queen's Park or anything, but having somebody talk for us. Like, because the music union does not do it.
No, they're not doing it.
No.
Well, so, I mean, you've been playing music professionally for a long time, I assume, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever once had a union leader of any union step up and say, "Don't worry about that. I got your back. We are going to take care of this"? No.
I mean, it
doesn't happen.
I was part of the union for years, and I got to say the only benefit I got from it was leaving. Like, that's the only nothing. Nobody came out and, like, during COVID and everything. Nobody was reaching out. Guys. Nobody was taking initiative, and I think that's sad. And you're right. We don't really have anybody that's kind of taking the forefront and being our voice, and we're kind of terrible at doing it on our own.
Well, we're terrible at promoting our own.
Even if it's a pretty big answer, okay? It's a pretty big, how do you do it? But the thing that we should really focus on, if we don't know how to do it, is to make everybody aware of it.
Yeah. Right.
And we had Andrew Cash. I don't know if you know Andrew Cash. He was a former member of Parliament for one of the regions in Toronto, and also a former member of a punk rock band called L'Étranger. Really neat guy. And he said the thing about artists is we're not joiners. Yep. We're not team people. We tend to be individuals, and that's our strength, but it's also our weakness.
Yep.
And when music became free, when you could download it off Napster, a lot of musicians didn't want to seem greedy. They didn't want to seem like they were working for the man. And they were like, we don't want to be that guy. Hatfield was one of the guys who said, we're going to lose our business.
Lars,
the visionary and the whole thing, and look what happened. So
we let our product become free. Believe me, if the oil companies, suddenly you could get gas for 5 cents a liter, the oil companies would not stand for it. There would be outrage. And what did we do? We fought amongst ourselves. You're working for the man. Music should be free. All of this bullshit, right? Mm-hmm. And we lost that. And now we got Spotify at 0.004 cents per play.
That's a joke.
And you could never make a living on it. And why did that happen? It's because we let it happen.
Right.
So now we're in a situation where we have a second crisis. We have to manage it as artists, as musicians. We have to handle this crisis better than we handled the first one. And that begins with us talking to each other and demanding that we be treated no better than any other industry, but not worse. And right now we're being treated worse.
Totally being treated worse.
In terms of the energy of your show, because I find it's so energetic. I love the way that you guys approach your various topics and your various subjects that are coming in for interviews and laying down this information for everybody. Are you finding that the energy is coming from this kind of complacency of musicians and like the not knowing versus not doing anything about it, or is it just the energy of being able to get these answers from people? Is there kind of like a double-edged sword in a good way here, where you're able to get the answers that you're looking for, but also being able to speak for a lot of the musicians in your community and abroad?
Well, I think crisis creates energy,
right?
And sometimes it requires a crisis for you to realize how close to the ledge you've been living. And the reality is that most musicians I know, I know a handful of major rock stars, and I know thousands of handfuls of musicians who've been living on the ledge. And the pandemic has made us look over and say, wow, we are now a centimeter away. And that creates energy, because it creates fear, because it creates outrage, because it creates moments of reflection where we say, wait a minute, we had our sales, our what we sell, the commodity we sell is music. We've had that taken away from us. And now we're told, well, you got to go out there and do it live. That's the only way. You got to sell merch, you got to tour, you got to do it live. And we had that taken away from us. So if we have a musician on the show, maybe last year, they would have talked about their new album and how they're going to go out and tour it and how they wrote it and where they recorded it. But now they're saying, what the hell am I going to do?
Yeah.
How am I ever going to continue to live this life? Do I have to get another job? So, our circumstances have created a very different dynamic for the restaurateurs we have on, for the artists and musicians we have on. It's a new world, and our eyes have been opened. So in reference to your question about energy, I think these revelations have created that energy.
Wow. Yeah, right on. That's I couldn't agree more. I love the fact that you guys are really taking the reins on that, where it's very easy for us as musicians to go, what the hell are we going to do next, instead of going, these are the steps to get there.
See, the first step is awareness of your situation.
Yeah.
Like, some people just don't know what to do.
Yeah.
But at least they're turning around and looking at what a frail industry it is.
Yes,
Yeah.
and part of it is we live this sort of dual reality, where you're on a stage, you're a side guy in a big band, you've got a world of backstage passes and people looking at you going, that guy made it, that guy is a star. 2 hours later, you're going to be in a super shitty basement apartment, wondering if you're going to make rent. And we don't like the world to know that we're financially stressed.
No.
Yeah,
Because we want to keep the illusion up.
Yeah.
And, other industries don't do that. They're like, our workers are in crisis. Because if you're putting cars together at GM, you're not saying, whoa, I don't want to be seen in a certain way because it's going to take away from my mystique. Right?
Exactly.
So we need to shed all of those things and come together and really talk about ourselves, first of all, as an essential service, because I can't tell you how many people on Facebook, on Instagram are saying music is getting me through this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So we're an essential service spiritually, emotionally, and as Rick was saying, we have economic clout, which is not being used.
No.
And then I love the SOCAN email about, last whatever, it was $80 million or whatever the hell it was, $80 million of royalties were paid out. Is that what you got for this pandemic? We paid, who'd you pay? Brian Adams?
Yeah.
Right.
Young? Yeah, you ain't paying me. You ain't doing nothing for us. And that's where it needs to change.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. I love the fact that it's almost we're all thinking it, like we keep it in the back of our minds how important it is to have reach out and have people understand that what we do is important, not just for us but for them as well. Life would not be the same without us and what we do, and at the same time it's we can't, this is what we're built for, but like we're built for this. So I love the fact that there's a crisis and a definite, like, that energy behind it is crisis, and I think it couldn't have been put better. I have such respect for you guys and voicing that, and I'm very very happy.
I mean, well, thank you for that, and I don't want to give your listeners, your viewers, the impression that all we do is rage about the music.
No, not at all.
Because we do that, but we have a really fun environment here. We laugh a lot. We do all kinds of goofy stuff. It's a super fun show. And part of the reason is we musicians are unemployed right now, but also the best tech people in the world are unemployed.
Yeah.
So we're lucky that, we have, Mark Hughes, he does video production for Muse and Roger Waters and other major acts. And he's like, well, I live in the neighborhood and I'm not doing anything.
Yeah.
Well,
So it comes
you
down
want to come and put a camera on a couple of guys who've never done it before? He's like, well, sure. So, Les Weller, who's been my sound guy for 10 years and, does installs all around the city. He works our audio. We've got Neil Burston. He does, cover photography for magazines. He's in here doing the lighting. So we as an artistic community, we have so many resources right now available to us because people aren't working. And people, as you were alluding to earlier, this is our passion. Let's get these passions together and let's have some fun, do a new thing, keep ourselves from going crazy, and maybe make a positive change in our community.
Exactly. It's all win-win all the way around, and we've just put our creative efforts in another thing, but we want to be helpful and we want to shine some light, if we can, whatever light we use that we get or whatever, on newer artists that we've met and younger ones.
That's, also like, that's one of the joys is someone will say, Tom, this person's really great. Will you get them on the show? And I'll watch a YouTube video and go, I never heard of this person.
Yeah.
But let's get them in here and see what happens.
Great.
And had our minds blown many times. So also it's the excitement of discovering new artists.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. Every week you have like 1-2 artists and, and it's all about promoting each other. And that's what's great about this is you're interviewing important people and you're having so much talent on there and random jams, like Rickford's constantly pulling out his guitar and jamming with some greats.
When you guys I think the one that I was blaring yesterday was the shred battle with saxophone and guitar, and I was having so much fun with it. I was laughing so hard. It was so good. You guys are multi-talented, so knowledgeable. I love it. It's great.
Well, Carson, who does our Cooking with Carson segment, surprisingly enough, he's a pro sax player. He's one of the best, but he loves cooking, and he took culinary arts with George Brown. He was on that "Come Dine with Me" show.
Yeah,
and
nobody knows that.
They know it now.
Yeah, definitely know it now.
Cooking guy.
And he's a serious saxophone player, but also,
one of the finest in the country.
So we're doing these silly things. We do the intros for him. I mean, you should see us like we're writing intros for his cooking thing, and we got to find something that rhymes with coco vin or butter tart, or whatever it was. And hummus was just killer. And I'm just looking at him going, can you believe that? We're putting serious thought in it. We're like, hummus? No. But he has a family. He's got 3 young kids and he's married. And he's showing people how to cook for
cooking in a pandemic.
Cooking in a pandemic and showing you how to make great meals and healthy meals for cheap. So we're doing something creative. We're doing something funny. And then we're helping at the same time. It's all very satisfying.
Win-win-win.
I love it.
Everybody wins.
It's so good.
And I don't want to turn the tides on you guys, but how did you guys get started?
Yeah.
Hold that thought. I got to restart these cameras. So we decided, through the pandemic too, it's just like, what do we do? So first, Friday nights, I've been doing a live stream with different people. Through snapped newspapers, and through that, then he, he's got this beautiful podcast room available for rent at buzz505.com, and then me and Dan were like, let's just get on here and let's start doing our own music show and chatting, and because of the pandemic, my goal has been to get people that are musicians that are doing things through the pandemic so that they could get more views and more money. So that's our main focus of interviews at the moment. Further down the line, we'll have you guys talk about touring and some cool things that you've done. But at this moment, we're not doing any of that. So that's, so we started the podcast just for,
we kind of found a need to talk about certain things where things that, in one of our episodes I had mentioned about, how these incredibly lavish network television studios are putting on these online shows, and they're going horribly wrong. They're doing it absolutely awful. And you know, shows that like pride themselves on live broadcasting, and it's like they can't even figure that shit out. So I think bringing light to what's going on behind the scenes, and hence the title Behind the Hooks, was like, you know, figuring out, you know, what is going on behind our favorite songs, what's going on behind our favorite artists, local and abroad, where it's like, you know, there's a deeper story behind this, and we want to kind of figure it out. And just like with you guys here today, I mean, as entertaining and as much as I laugh watching your show, hearing the emergency that comes from your description, and what you know, the reasoning behind, I guess, the motivation, it's clear, and it makes so much sense. And I think in a way that's why we started doing what we do, is just bringing awareness, really, is, you know, what's going on with musicians as an individual, but also as an industry. So I guess that's the real reason it may have turned into that, because at first we're just like, let's just talk to each other.
Yeah. But we're in the middle of something
You know
that
what? I love that, because I think one of the issues with corporate media in the broad sense is you get a couple of you know, guys in the corner office say, you know what would make a really good podcast? And now we're going to need a rock musician with long hair and a beard. And we're going to need, and they try to build something, and it's never real. Yeah. You know, I love the idea that you guys were, you know what, let's talk to each other and let's see where this goes, because that's how conversations happen in the real world.
Yeah.
And that's how you end up having this really neat back and forths.
Yeah.
Because it's not dropped on you. It's not, and you have allowed it to evolve. And there's no space for evolution in television, right?
Right.
You have to have it locked in and work out. So I think it's great, and I think I love how loose it is that you guys gave yourselves the space to just talk.
Yep.
Yeah. Just like writing a song, honesty.
Yep.
Okay. And you know, honesty and connection is always a winner.
Yeah.
In whatever genre it is. This could be this platform. As long as you speak honestly, then people will listen because they believe it. You know, they feel it. So
exactly.
that's what we.
Yeah, I mean, viewers can smell bullshit from a mile away, right? And anytime there's a network note from those big networks, it's very, very obvious.
Exactly. So the show, is it going to end after COVID? What are you guys thinking? What are you thinking?
Well, we're going to march. We're going to march with fire stakes or no?
No, we're gonna. Our plan is to keep going. We think we're figuring it out and getting better at it. Mm-hmm. We may lose part of our crew. We may lose part of our cast because you know, Rickferd's going to be on tour. I'm going to be on tour. So we've sort of decided we're going to keep it going as long as it's relevant. As long as there's still a need. I personally think there's a need for the reasons that we've discussed earlier. You know, maybe if musicians were doing these podcasts when Napster came out, we'd all be talking to each other instead of at each other. Okay. And we could have said, look, yes, everyone hates the majors, but let's not screw ourselves to spite them. You know, maybe if we had this kind of connection, we could have come out of this more protected. And, you know, there's all kinds of things we didn't do. And this is an opportunity for a redo. And, you know, I think we should do it as long as there's a need, as long as people keep watching, as long as the artists keep wanting to be on the show.
I mean, I can see it pivoting. I can see it just kind of pivot if everything comes back to normal. It should be. I have some dates in November of 2021, I guess. So, I mean, I think if we pivot a little bit towards the things we were talking about, you know, some kind of standard, some kind of voice, and somehow in some road how to get there. Yeah. Also with the silly bits.
And also, you know, we'd like to morph it into more of a jammy situation. So if we're interviewing you now, you know, we're in a house. We don't have to wear masks and we could call ahead and say, hey man, I really love that tune you wrote. Can we do it on the show? Yeah. We'll learn it. And so musically, I think we have a lot to grow because that's our favorite thing. Yep. And we're not allowed to do it for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, let's end on that, man. So we'll definitely promote you guys, and because the show is amazing, and get those views up for you guys, because it's definitely worth it.
Appreciate it.
Even if you don't care about the political stuff, just watch your musicians that you have on there, and your banter, and is great, right?
This week, Rick lights himself on fire.
You know what? I also think that we need to find a language to speak to our peers, which is not political.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is saying that we deserve the protections that every other industry gets. That's minimum wage, that's safe work environments, etc. That shouldn't be political. It should be common sense.
Yep.
And we need to say to ourselves and to each other, why do we allow ourselves to be treated less than? I don't think that's a political discussion. I think it's a moral discussion.
Definitely.
Exactly.
Definitely. Wow. Whoa.
Yeah. Oh, we could go on.
Oh my God.
No, because it could get ugly.
Where can we find you guys?
So we're the Tom and Rick Show on Facebook. We download all of our episodes to YouTube, but they go live on Facebook every Wednesday at 7 p.m.
Awesome.
And then after they get replayed on YouTube.
And then Instagram is, what is it?
At
the Tom and Rick Show?
At the Tom and Rick Show, yeah.
Excellent.
It's really,
And we really appreciate the opportunity to babble on with you guys about what we're doing. Thanks very much.
Oh,
Yeah,
our pleasure.
you know.
Our pleasure, really.
We hope to promote you guys as well. You guys should come on the show as guests.
Anytime.
Let us know. We're there.
We're
you
there.
can sit in his very,
Yeah.
And then we'll flip it. All
Excellent.
right, guys. That's
All right.
awesome.
Take
Okay.
care.
Take care. Thanks again, guys.
Okay, well, wasn't that great? Thanks, Rick and Tom, for taking your time out and hanging out with us. So let's this week let's keep with that port credit kind of vibe, and let's have a great band that actually comes up to Newmarket and plays a bunch at the OV. But the Pink Leather Jackets, let's end off with their song "Call You When I'm Drunk." That's hard to remember sometimes. Call you.
I remember it every time I'm drunk and I need to call you.
Call you. But let's hear from the boys here, and let's end with more port credit classic folks.
Then I says to Mabel,
That's cool.
yeah,
Where is
freaking guy.
Freaking guy.
45 minutes.